What's good, YouTube man? Alright, we back with another video. So today, we have ranking every WWE video game best to worst. So this is interesting because for one, I played a good number of them. You know, especially when I was younger and I was really into it. Once I kind of grew out of it, I stopped. I think the last one I played was WWE 13, and after that, it was no more good. I really wasn't into it like that. So yeah, well, let's see what we getting into. So I should know a great deal of information about every game except for
the Smackdown game
when
series
2K took over,
longer and
2K14
history at this
through
point. It survived
now.
and even thrived across various different consoles, developers, and
Even though I still know a
SmackDown
few
versus
things, but
Raw,
I don't
it
watch
is
it
now known
anymore.
as the 2K series. There are 21 games in the franchise in total, and we thought it would be a good idea to rank each and every one of them from worst to best.
Right.
Of course, not everyone is going to agree with our list, but let us know your list in the comments down below. Be sure to subscribe and click on that notification bell, because today we're going to look at every Smackdown game ranked.
Alright, talk to me nice.
Yeah, you all guessed
Wow.
it, WWE 2K20.
I'll never
Now,
forget when this
starting
game
at the
came
bottom,
out.
it's
It was
hard to argue
literally
that this
a
most recent game
hashtag
in
the
the
same
franchise
exact day
hasn't been the
that
worst
said,
entry so far. A glitch-filled
fix
mess that had
WWE
problems after
2K20.
problems ever since its release,
It
including
was a
but not limited to
the
now
same hashtag
infamous
was for fix
Y2K20
MJ2K20.
bug. Yeah, this one is so bad it almost
But it
killed
was
the
like
series
2 weeks
with
after
its
the game
poor
was
reception
released.
necessitating
When this
the
game came out,
cancellation
it was
of
literally the
2K21.
exact same day.
2K has even
People
been
was
forced to leave
people
the
was getting stuck in the
2K19 online
ropes. There was a whole bunch of
servers up for a lot
glitches.
longer than usual, purely because people don't want to play this one.
Right.
Sadly, in our eyes, this game is absolute garbage
Right.
and is the worst game within the Smackdown series.
Right.
Number 20, WWE 2K15.
Notice how the
While
worst
it's nowhere
the
near
start
as
of the
bad as
worst games
2K20,
are
this one
when
was another
2K took
stain on
over.
the franchise and certainly worthy of being called one of its weakest efforts. It was the first WWE game to be released on the 8th generation
Like, bro,
of games
2K,
consoles, but apart
EA
from
and
the
2K, I
graphics,
tweeted that earlier. Like,
certainly
EA and
didn't
2K
take
just need
advantage
to
of
leave
that
certain
fact.
games alone.
Instead,
Like,
they gave us a title that seemed to be
especially
an
the
evolution
SmackDown
rather
vs.
than
Raw,
an
the WWE
evolution,
series. They
and
didn't
caused many
need
players to just
like
stick with the previous
2K
year's
to
version
take over.
instead once
It was
again.
perfectly fine with
Number
THQ
19, SmackDown
and
vs.
Ukes.
Raw
Like, come on, bro.
2008. It was definitely a leap up in quality from the last two entries on this list,
That's
but another
crazy.
disappointing
I
one
never
nonetheless.
actually liked that
This one
game.
brought in all the hardcore elements in the newly revived ECW franchise, and whilst those extreme elements were good, single-player 24/7
Nah,
mode
it
was
was.
a step
That
backwards
was
for the series,
boring.
and the game
That was
included
boring.
awful AI, poor
Yeah, like
collision
when you could hit 'em
detection,
and then right,
was in
yeah.
most games, and as always, lame commentary. Basically, the 2008 version.
I will
took
say
everything
that
of
it doesn't matter what
2007
game it
and
is.
improved on
Like I
nothing.
played with
Number
my
18,
man's
vs.
Omar.
Raw
He had
2009.
got the game. He
Now,
had got
another
19 or
disappointing
whatever. It was
entry
probably
that
like last
received
year or
criticism
something
for
like
its
that.
stale gameplay,
And I just played because I was bored and I wasn't
clipping
playing anything
issues,
else
and
when we
weak
were just in
sound
a party or
effects.
whatever.
Although despite
They
this,
use the
there was
same
some praise to be found
commentary
here too.
all
Critics
the
enjoyed the
time,
Road to
bro.
WrestleMania mode, as well as the overall graphics and large amount of single-player options, not to mention revamping
One
the
thing they
tag
gonna
team
do is fix the
matches.
graphics.
It's a
That's
mixed
for
bag,
sure.
but not one worth really going back to in our opinion. Number 17,
They definitely gonna fix the graphics.
WWF SmackDown Just Bring It.
Just bring.
It was the last game to feature the WWF name before the company got the F out and became WWE.
Right.
Just Bring It was criticized upon its release by some reviewers for being marred with some serious flaws and jarring lack of atmosphere, and it's hard to argue with that assessment.
I mean,
Now, don't get us wrong, the game wasn't a complete mess.
I'm about
It
to
was
say-
the first SmackDown game to include full entrances, not to mention having the possibility
Right, that's
of
elite.
having
I mean,
8
at the
players
time, it was
simultaneously
probably
in the ring.
legendary. It was
That's
probably
something
legendary
they
at the
didn't
time.
revisit until more recent games. But season mode was awful.
But when I
and so
played
was
Just
the
Bring It, it was
commentary,
probably a
not to
few
mention
years
THQ
removed from
duping
when
us with that pre-rendered intro. In
Like-
fact, the overall effort reflected the creative rut that the company had found themselves in at the time while stuck in the aftermath of the Attitude Era.
Right.
Number 16, WWE 12.
What?
Offers a little
I
more
actually
than some
like
new gloss painted
12.
over an old product.
What?
And thanks to a severely downgraded story mode and lack of substantial improvements,
was
this is the
cool.
weakest WWE title in years.
Wow.
Now, these two reviews pretty much sum of this one. So we recommend giving this one a miss.
I don't know, bro.
Number 15, WWE 2K17.
Look at all the 2Ks that suck.
The biggest issue with 2K17 was its lack of innovation. There seemed to be no real changes
For me,
here,
I would
other
say
than the removal of 2K
Smackdown vs.
Showcase
Raw
mode,
2006 is
which
the
was left
greatest.
out in
It's the
favor of
greatest
improving the
WWE
game's
game
My
ever.
Career mode. This wasn't a good decision, and the game certainly suffered from it. My Career mode was full of repetitiveness, whether it be the same promos or same cutscenes. It just got boring very quickly. It's not a low light of the series, but
Then
that's
there's the
only
fact
because
that
there's some
even the fact that you don't
absolutely
have
terrible
voice,
stuff that comes
there's no
below it.
voices.
Number 14,
Or no
WWE
voiceovers in that mode, like.
2K16. 2K16 was a much better game than its successor. Gameplay and roster depth was good, and still
Bro,
lost
from
in
10 to
showcase
20,
mode
it's
was a
so
lot of
many
fun to play.
2Ks. Like, come
It
on,
may have
bro.
suffered from some inconsistency issues, but
That
it
should
had
tell you
pretty
when
much
2K took
everything
over,
that
they
was
ruined the
missing in
entire game.
2K15 and was something of a forgotten success for the franchise. Number 13, WWE Smackdown vs. Raw.
Okay.
The original
Alright.
Smackdown vs.
Right.
Raw game certainly wasn't the best one, but it was a decent game that tried a few new things,
Surprisingly,
such as
I
pre-match
never
minigames
played
and the addition of
the
the
original
clean
Smackdown
slash
vs.
dirty
Raw.
system. When the book is written on the WWE game series, there won't be a huge amount to say about this one, but it certainly was fun to play at the time.
Right.
Not to mention
It looks
we played
insane.
the heck out of the
It looks
parking lot
insane, though.
brawl matches. This one deserves a little more credit since it brought in the
I
voiceovers.
do know it had the
Unfortunately, they
voiceovers.
worked against it
Because
since
everybody
they could only
couldn't.
get a number of superstars to
Yeah.
do the voiceover.
Everybody
The
couldn't get
storyline
voiceovers.
was extremely
Everybody
linear
didn't
to
want to
Here
record
Comes
their
the
voice
Pain.
over there. Like, come on,
Number
bro.
12, WWE 2K18.
Right.
Another one that could be classed as good, but not great. This one's reputation suffered because of its awful Nintendo Switch port. Aside from that, it had its positives. It allowed for 8 wrestlers to be in a match at once
Right,
for the first
right.
time.
That's still
It's
crazy.
just brilliant. Something
but
which made
for
battle
online,
royals
the
a
servers
little bit more
online, that must have been
exciting.
terrible
It
for the
really
servers
is the last of the
online. I know
mediocre
it was.
games,
I know it had to
only
be
getting
lagging.
better from here on out. Number 11, WWF Smackdown. The original game in the series
Right.
was a success upon its release, and while it may look dated now, it was a pretty
about to
good
say,
game
but
for
at-
its
I'm about
time
to say,
and laid
at
the
that time, it
framework
was
for
probably
the peaks
crazy.
the franchise would
Like,
reach
what?
over the years.
Okay.
With its fast-paced gameplay, easy controls, exciting season mode,
Like, look at the
recommend going
graphics
back
we
and
was
checking
playing
this
on
one
back
out
then.
and reminding
Like,
yourself
bro.
why it made you fall in love with it in the first place
Jesus.
all over again. Number
Look at
10,
how Rock is
Smackdown
built.
vs. Raw 2010.
No, that game was
2010
great.
was a pretty
That game was
well-received
great.
game upon its
I love
release,
that game.
and considered by some to be the return to form for the series.
Yeah, that game was
We'd have
amazing.
to agree with that sentiment here. It features a lot
Down
of
to the road to
improvements the game's
WrestleMania and
story
everything,
create
like.
modes, and had some fun, easy gameplay that definitely earns its spot in the top 10, if only just. Number 9, WWE
Right,
13.
that's the last one I
This
played.
was the last game to be published by THQ before
Right,
they
I'm
departed
glad I
the
stopped.
series, and they certainly left on a high note,
Yes, sir.
giving 2K a hard act to follow.
Right.
The gameplay was great,
2K just
the
couldn't do
roster
it.
was huge,
Gameplay was
biggest
great.
ever at the time. The graphics were solid too. Even the inclusion of Attitude Era mode in the place of the usual Road to WrestleMania was a
Facts.
success. In some ways, it's a shame that THQ left the series with this one, as we would have loved to see what they could have done next. But then, with that being said,
Yeah, THQ
2K
would have been going
something
crazy.
special
I know
up
they
their
would have been
sleeve
going
for the next
crazy,
year, which will be
especially
appearing
with
on
the way
list
graphics and everything
soon.
is right
Number
now.
8, Smackdown vs. Raw 2007.
2007.
Smackdown
Yeah, that's
vs.
crazy.
Raw 2007 was released to some of the best
Yeah, that was
reviews
a-
the series had
yeah,
seen
that
at
was a
that
great
point.
game. That was a
It was
great game.
praised for its quality presentation and high amount of content, something which was entirely deserved. There were some criticisms, of course. Glitches were reported by some gamers.
But I mean, every game's
commentary
gonna
was
have
panned.
from me
But
something.
then again, that's nothing usual for WWE.
Right.
The graphics looked tremendous. The
It did.
gameplay was overhauled.
At the time, no, at
and
the
it was
time,
everything that made
2007
a
was
WWE
crazy.
game
It was
exciting.
super crazy.
On an interesting note, there was originally a PlayStation 3 version of this one planned, but it ended up being cancelled midway through production, but it still made its way over to the 360. Number 7, WWE Smackdown 2,
Know Your Role. Know Your Role.
It was an improvement over the
Look at
original
bro,
in
look at how
almost
The
every
Rock is
way.
built.
That's all you
His
really need
body
to
is
know
a
here.
square.
The only real flaw that we can think of here is that the Hell
Bro,
in a
they're
Cell
jumping
wasn't quite
through the
right for
cell.
that small
What is
potatoes.
that?
This is definitely one worth revisiting. Number 6, WWE
Number 6 is
2K14.
Okay,
The first and
2K14.
almost the best in the newly revamped 2K series,
Right.
2K14 was praised for its 30 years of WrestleMania and street modes, and featured an increased focus on
Right.
incorporating legends into the game,
Right.
allowing us to enjoy the current
Because a
roster,
lot of
also
you know, a
reliving
lot of the kids, they
history
don't
at the
know
same
they don't
time.
know a lot of the
Winner, winner,
history and you know
chicken
stuff
dinner as
that
far as
so
we're
that like the
concerned.
fact that the Attitude
Number
Era
5,
mode and you know all
WWE
kind of stuff like
Smackdown,
that.
shut your
I really
mouth.
like that.
If it wasn't for one very notable
Nah,
game
I got
still
shut
to
your
come,
mouth right
this
now.
would easily
The
qualify
game's
as the
pretty
best
good.
in the
It's pretty
original
good.
Smackdown incarnation of the series. The season mode here is particularly noted for being
Now,
fantastic
mind
fun.
you, I only did
Everything
episode
was
1.
improved from
You
just
guys want
bring it,
episode
and
2?
everything felt
Go
more
watch the other
enjoyable.
video, and
This was
you
a
know,
game that truly
I need at
felt
least
worthy
6
of
likes
the
on that
WWE
video.
license at the time. A classic in every
Jesus,
respect,
Brock.
and one that you could easily go
Brock
back to
is
today.
huge.
Where else are you going to be able to climb the Titantron and leap
Jump
off
off the
giant
fist.
Smackdown fist?
The fist.
Number 4, Smackdown
No,
vs. Raw 2011.
this game is legendary
Another absolutely
because this was the first
fantastic
time where they
effort.
made things a
Smackdown
little
vs.
bit more
Raw
realistic.
2011
You could
saw
go
the
through
introduction
tables
of
and they
the
would
Havoc
break
physics
realistically,
engine,
and
which created
you
a
could
lot more
bend
fun and
ladders and
realistic
everything.
matches, and gave us the perfect swan song to this iteration of the series. Weapons and items now broke in a realistic fashion.
See?
And even the Hell in a Cell was revamped to feel more real to life.
Nah,
There
yeah,
are no doubt
it was
some
great.
people
It was
out there
great.
who will consider this one of their favorites.
It was.
We wouldn't argue with their opinion. There's
And
still
then they
3
gave you
spots
multiple
left on this
attires.
list
The
for a
first time
reason.
I ever had a
Number
game give me
3,
multiple attires for
WWE
one superstar. Nah, it was a great game.
We're now on the podium, and now we reach the peak of the 2K era of the franchise. 2K19 was the height of Rome before the dramatic fall that would come only a year later with 2K20. Almost everything the series had been building up to at this point felt perfected and polished here, making it truly one of the best entries in the series. The Daniel Bryan showcase mode was great, the gameplay was even better, the roster was stacked with almost everyone under contract available here. Stick with this one until further notice, because God knows it's better than anything that comes after it.
Right.
Number 2, Smackdown Here Comes the Pain.
2006 is. I knew it. I knew it.
Here Comes the Pain isn't number 1? Yeah, we're sure a lot of
Nah,
people will be shocked that
2006.
this one didn't take
2006
the
is
top
number
spot.
1. I know it is. It's gotta be.
It's a fantastic game, no doubt, and well deserving of its stellar reputation. The gameplay is fun and
Nah, Here Comes the
fast-paced,
Pain
and
is
the
tough.
story mode
Here
is
Comes the Pain is tough.
amazing. Not to mention the graphics looking top-notch on the PS2.
On the PS2,
Roster,
facts.
graphics, everything just clicks here, and it's
Facts.
truly an example of a franchise firing on all cylinders. But with that being said, in a humble opinion, there's one game that tops
It's one,
this
it's only one.
and that is number 1.
Yes,
SmackDown vs.
sir.
Raw 2006.
2006.
The Sistine Chapel of the
The
WWE
GOAT.
SmackDown series. This is as close to perfect as the franchise has ever come.
Facts.
It's still yet to be topped
Down
this
to
day as far as we're
everything.
concerned.
The
Controls were
gameplay
tweaked
was.
to
I was about to say the
perfection.
gameplay was good.
fast and intuitive.
The season
Graphics
mode was
superb.
was
There were a
crazy.
lot of great new additions such as
Buried
Buried
Alive
Alive matches
matches,
and General
yep.
Manager mode. And one review of it said, the sheer breadth of content makes it an easy choice for any wrestling enthusiast. Quite possibly the best wrestling game available for the system.
Facts.
And they're not wrong. We really have nothing negative to say about
Facts.
this
There's
one.
nothing you can say
We only
bad
hope
about
that
that
one
game.
day something even better comes along, maybe 2K22 or Smackdown vs. Raw 2022. We'll be keeping our fingers crossed. But there you have it, guys. Our look at the Smackdown series.
Nah,
and
they got
ranking
it. They
its
got it
games
dead
from
on. They got it
worst to
spot on.
best. Again, we know that some of you may not agree with our picks, but let us know in
So,
the comments down below of your rankings.
comment down below, let me
As
know
always,
what you think is the
subscribe if
best
you haven't
game.
already. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter.
We doing this every
I'll see
day.
you next time with some more
Drop a like, drop a sub if
wrestling
you're
video
new.
game
On the road to
content.
100 subs. I'll see you on the next video.